All right, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all having an excellent day, having a great afternoon, probably ready for the 4th of July. So the webinar today, we are here to help support you guys. So if you do have any questions or issues that you're coming across, please feel free to start posting those in the questions box, and we have a team here ready to assist you and try to help you get those questions answered. The presentation that you're going to see scrolling today just helps provide some contact information, additional guidance. It has some training information. So the screen you see here has a few different email addresses that you may need to reach out to for specific issues. So for that dealer_allocations, that is who you can reach out to if you're having specific issues related to your shipment or your inventory or your allocation. We ask that you please do not reach out to them if you have general questions about the plate usage or anything like that. That's kind of what we are here for. You can also reach out to your local regional service center, county tax office for things like that. Also, please do not submit questions more than once, whether that is in here in our chat or to those dealer allocation inboxes. There are teams working diligently to try to get those answered, but if you post that question more than once or submit more than one email with the same information, that's just going to bog down that process. So we ask that you please do not send multiple inquiries for the same thing. But the information that you are seeing rotating on the screen here, we do have it available for download. So if you are on the desktop version, you may see a paper with a paper clip. If you hover over that, it says materials, and there's going to be 3 different handouts available for download there. Again, we do have this presentation available to print out, and that presentation will also provide you with links to our different available on-demand trainings. So we have web dealer training. We have a Web Dealer 101 that kind of helps explain what Web Dealer is and how it operates. Web Dealer 102 will kind of walk you through a specific transaction and show you screen by screen of how to process transactions in Web Dealer. So this screen here will kind of show you some of those different trainings that are available. So if you download this PDF, these are clickable links. So just do Control and click to be able to click on those registration links, and that will take you to that registration. Once you do register for those trainings, it will immediately provide you with that recording of that training. And then we do also have the IMS access through Web Dealer handout as well. That document is going to provide you with some information related to the inventory management system. The permissions, those permissions are going to be important to make sure they're set correctly. That will help you view and manage your inventory. So if you're having issues with not being able to view inventory, it may be a permissions thing to where you don't have the permissions to view that. So those permissions may be important. You can also transfer inventory. So if you are on the ePlate side under a certain dealer ID, but your inventory is attached to a different dealer ID, you may need to transfer that inventory to that other dealer ID. And you can do so in IMS, and that handout will kind of help provide you with guidance on that process. And then we do also have the Web Dealer Addendum that will provide information about the BTN process, how to go through those screens for the BTN, ePlate assignments, dealer assignments, and things of that nature. So those handouts are available to download for your reference. And this is going to be a come and go webinar. We're going to be on here until 4 p.m. answering any questions that you may have. But if you ask a question, you get your answer, and you need to go take care of business, feel free to drop off at any time. You do not need to stay for the duration of the full webinar. However, you are more than welcome to stay if you would like to. As you are posting questions, we already see quite a few questions coming through. That's excellent. We have our team already starting to answer those. As you post questions, we ask that you please provide as much information and context as possible. So if you are having a specific error or issue, let us know what error code you are receiving, what system you're on, what screen you're on, things, pretty specific so we can try to help you the best we can. Sometimes we get kind of incomplete thoughts, or incomplete messages, or if you accidentally hit send before you mean to and then continue the question in a separate submission, we're not able to piece those together. Also, if we have to respond with a follow-up question, it doesn't thread on our end. So again, if you post anything at all, please make sure that does include all pertinent information to where we can try to help you the best we can. So with that, I'm going to go through and answer, kind of read out some of the questions that are being asked and answered so that you have reference to those verbally as well. And Frank and I are going to be switching out throughout the afternoon to read some of these out for y'all. What do I do if my inventory was sent to the wrong dealer ID? It's going to vary. So if you are just needing to transfer your inventory to another dealer ID, you can do that transfer by using that IMS handout that's available for download. If you do still have issues with that, or if maybe it was allocated to the wrong P number because you cannot transfer from P number to P number, definitely reach out to our allocations team for additional assistance on that. And if you hear me go silent for a little bit, just scrolling through some questions so I can find one that I can read out for you guys. Good afternoon. I have a couple quick questions. What are we supposed to do for a VTN text title that is coming back with no record? Are we supposed to do a VTN on an out-of-state title to get it into our inventory? So let me answer the first one. So the first question was, what are we supposed to do for a VTN Texas title that is coming back with no record? But I think that kind of goes with question 2 that says, are we supposed to do a VTN on an out-of-state title to get it into our inventory? So if you are attempting to do a VTN, you're not able to do so if it does not have a record in the system. So if it is an out-of-state vehicle, or if it's a brand new vehicle on an MSO, you're not able to do a VTN because there's not a record in the system to locate or to place a VTN on. So those can probably go hand in hand. If we purchased a vehicle before 7/1, do we have to do a VTN before we can put a plate on it? So no, anything that you took in before 7/1, you do not need to do a VTN on. You can still do a VTN, but it's not going to be required for the inventory because that is not going to transfer that inventory to your, it's not going to transfer the plate to your inventory for anything that you took in before that date. But if you do have, sales that you have before 7/1, you're trying to transfer those in Web Dealer, you can try to do those manually in the system. There is a known error in the system to where those are not able to be transferred at this time. So you can try to do it manually. If that does not work, you can take it into your county tax office for processing. When you are transferring plates between the same GDN but different addresses, how do you know which box of plates it is transferring? You can only select how many boxes, but not which box you want to transfer. So at this time, you're not able to pick which box to transfer. It'll only give you, it'll automatically assign whatever box. So just ensure that whatever box is transferred automatically by the system, that's the box that you would actually take to that other location. So I think they're working on trying to get that updated to where you can select a certain inventory, but at this time it will pick it for you. How do I import the license plates in so we can assign them to our customers? So if you have received your inventory, they should automatically be received for you in IMS. You should not have to import them or do anything for them on your side. That should automatically be done in the system. So if you want to let us know if you're not able to view them or what specific things you're coming across with that, it may be if you're not able to view them in IMS, ensure that you are looking under the correct dealer ID that was provided in your emails. because those emails would have provided you with that P number GDN that it was assigned to, as well as the dealer ID to be able to help locate that inventory. I still haven't received my plates or registration sticker paper. So if you have not received plates, there may be a couple various reasons for that. As you may be aware, web dealer training was required to be completed before you are able to receive inventory. So if you have not completed web dealer training, please make sure you do that. The slide here will show you this web dealer 101 and 102. Any of those can be completed to satisfy that web dealer training requirement. There may be other various reasons for reasons you may not have received your inventory. So just reach out to that dealer_allocations inbox and they can try to help assist you with that. And as far as the registration sticker paper, you will not receive inventory for that. That will be done by your local county tax office. So before July 1st, whenever you did a transaction, you would provide them with the buyer's tag, and then the transaction was processed by the county, and the county provided the plate and the sticker. So it's essentially the same process. You're just giving them the plate ahead of time once you receive your inventory, but that sticker will still continue coming from the county tax office once the transaction is approved and processed. Good afternoon. Do I have to order plates or will automatically receive inventory of plates? So your first initial shipment will be automatic if you qualify for the plates. So if you have not received inventory, again, reach out to the dealer_allocations at txdmv.gov inbox. But if you have received inventory, that will automatically appear in your IMS that has already been received for you officially. But once you are needing to order additional inventory, eventually the order inventory option will be enabled in IMS to where you can order additional inventory. But for now, if you do need additional inventory, you can reach out to the dealer allocations. After issuing buyer's plate, how do we send information through web dealer to county tax office to receive registration? So once you have assigned your plate to your customer, you do that through ePlate assignment, and they have left your dealership, they left the lot, they're happy, they have a new car. Within 30 days is when you'll apply for that title transaction, and you will submit that electronically through web dealer. I highly recommend, if you are not familiar with that process, to please go and do our web dealer 102 training. That training will provide you with a step-by-step walkthrough of how to process a transaction in web dealer. So that may kind of help assist. Just keep in mind that the web dealer training was before July 1st implementation. So the plate options are going to be slightly different, obviously, because that's going to be work a little bit different now. But as far as the screen of how to start the application, how to enter the information, will kind of help guide you through that process. How many days after the sale do we have to submit a new title application after we process sale and assign a plate? So those time periods have not changed. So you are still required as a licensed dealer in Texas to transfer titles within 30 days or 45 days for seller finance. I'm unable to transfer my inventory into inventory on IMS. I've gone through the process to try to transfer, but it shows that I don't have inventory even though I have plates. So Sean, make sure you are reviewing your inventory under that same dealer ID that inventory was assigned to. So you should have received a series of email communications regarding your plate shipment. I believe email number 2 that you would have received is the email that has the P number and dealer ID that inventory was assigned to. So please ensure that you are viewing it under that same location. Also ensure that your permissions are set accordingly in WebDealer to be able to make changes to your inventory. And then if that does not help, you can reach out to the dealer allocations. Are plates following the customer or car? So SB 1902 recently passed in June that kind of made changes to HB 718. So if you had taken training previous to probably first middle of June, HB 718 did require the plates to remain with the vehicle. Again, however, SB 1902 passed in June. That kind of changes that process, and the plates will no longer stay with that vehicle. However, you can take in a vehicle, and once you do the VTN in the system, that plate will automatically go into your inventory, and that same plate can be reassigned to any vehicle sold within 10 days, as long as it is the same classification. So essentially that was, from my understanding, is designed to for those customers that want to use their same plate on their new vehicle. So if you have a customer come in, they trade in the vehicle, but they want to keep their same plate. They have it memorized, they like that plate number, and they just want to keep that same plate. If they buy a vehicle from you within 10 days and it's the same vehicle classification, once you have done that VTN, that plate is in your inventory. Whenever you go in to do the plate assignment, that plate will be an option to select to place on the new plate assignment for their new vehicle. After the 10 days are up, do we destroy the plates? Yes. So once that 10 days is up, once you have taken in the vehicle from trade and you have that plate can only be transferred within that 10 days. So after the 10 days, you will need to destroy those plates. You can either destroy them yourself. You can get some of those cutting shears, cut them in half. You can also take them into your county tax office or regional service center if they will take them. You may just want to give them a heads up and see if they're able to take in those plates. Some offices may have smaller areas where they can't take them. You can also take them to a metal recycler, pretty much any way to properly dispose them, just to ensure that they're not being used nefariously on any other vehicle. The metal license plates we provide at the time of sale, will those be their permanent plates, or will they change when they get their registration sticker? So whenever you first assign that plate is going to be in a temporary status. It's going to be the same plate. So once they purchase that vehicle, you do the plate assignment in ePlate. That physical metal plate is on their vehicle. It's going to be in a temporary status until that title application is applied for and transferred to the county tax office. Once processed and approved and the county issues that registration sticker, that same plate will then become a permanent status, and that will then be their permanent registration. So then you will still contact the county tax office, work with them to be able to get those registration stickers once processed, and then you will in turn get that to your customer for them to place it on their windshield. I'm a dealer deputy, so how do I receive registration sticker paper and instructions? So if you are a dealer deputy, you probably should already have that registration sticker inventory. If you do not, reach out to your county tax office and they will get you set up with that. But again, you must already be a dealer deputy, or if you're inquiring about being a dealer deputy to receive sticker paper inventory, reach out to your county tax office and that will require a bond between you and the county. Hello, good afternoon. When I'm trying to assign a new license plate, I get this error. There is no inventory present for this dealer. Please assign or move inventory for this dealer. So make sure that you are under the same dealer ID that inventory was assigned to. So again, you should have email communications advising you of where that inventory was allocated to. So make sure whenever you're in ePlate and you are setting your location, make sure you do the drop down. If you have multiple locations that you are under, select that drop down and make sure you set location in ePlate. And that needs to be the same location that inventory is assigned to. If the inventory is assigned to different dealer ID, you can transfer that inventory to that other location through IMS, and that IMS handout will help you with that process. Apologies for the silence, just going through some questions. I'm seeing some repeated ones, so I just didn't want to keep repeating myself, so I'm trying to find some different things to kind of read out to you guys, give some different context. So I tried to start the VTN with the inventory I have, but when I entered info, it seems I am trying to sell the vehicle, not receiving it. Where do I do the VTN for the inventory I have right now? So if you have inventory right now, you do not necessarily need to do that VTN. I mean, you should be doing VTNs on your vehicles anyway, so it's not like you can't do the VTN, but it's not going to switch over any kind of inventory. But yes, you only do VTN when you are receiving the vehicle. If you're the buying dealer, you will be the one to complete the VTN. Are customers allowed to drive around with plates and not registration? Asking in regards to customers who buy a vehicle after courthouse hours. So yeah, with the new changes of HB 718 and SB 9207, whenever you sell the vehicle and you assign them the metal plate, again, that is going to be in temporary status until that registration sticker is officially approved and assigned by the county tax office. But law enforcement has already been trained on this as well. They should be aware and familiar with these different changes regarding HB 718. So they are aware of the different situations that they may see out on the road with metal plates and no sticker in the windshield. That's going to indicate that is currently in temporary status to where the transaction is still being processed by the county tax office. But at that time, they should have that buyer's receipt in their vehicle to verify that has been purchased by that specific dealership within that time period. Can handicap disabled plates be transferred to a new vehicle through ePlate? Yes, they absolutely can. So whenever you're going into ePlate and you're doing the ePlate assignment, there is an option to do customer supplied plate. So any plate that they already have that they're wanting to transfer as far as like a specialty plate or qualifying plate, anything like that, you will do that as customer supplied, enter that plate number, and that can be transferred over to that new vehicle. But I also don't want to get that confused with the ones that want to transfer their general issue plate. So that general issue plate is not considered a specialty plate that would be attached to that individual. So if they are wanting to transfer that specific general issue plate, you'd need to do the VTN to make sure that that plate is transferred to your general issue inventory. And then when doing the e-plate assignment for the new vehicle, you will select that same plate number in your inventory from a general issue plate. For new dealers, it says initial plate inventory is specified by rule. Then for more information, gives a PDF file. We have not received any plates. Who do we contact? So if you are a brand new dealer, that does go through an approval process. There's a specific set of plates that are going to be allocated to you based on the type of license, whether it's franchise or independent. So there's a set number of plates that you will receive. If you do have specific questions regarding that, or to check the status of that, to ensure that you know, your license and everything has been approved and you're on the list to receive those plates, you can reach out to the dealer_allocations at txdmv.gov for further assistance. This is related to provisional and out-of-state license plates. How can I assign them to a specific vehicle? So for provisional, you should not need to use provisional. They're going to be a very limited use plate. Provisional is only going to be used if you do not have the proper inventory in, or the proper plates in your inventory, or if it's going to be for apportioned. Anything that's going to be a specialty or qualifying plate, like antique or classic, any kind of specialty plate, you will assign a general issue plate, and then they will go to the county tax office to apply for whatever plate that they're requesting. But as far as the out-of-state plates, whenever you are in the e-plate assignment, there will be an option that says the vehicle is not being titled or registered in Texas. Once you select that, that will give you a drop down of only those available out-of-state buyer plates. But essentially either of those will occur in the e-plate assignment. Where is the IMS to download? So we do have 3 different materials, and under the materials tab, so if you're on the desktop version, at the very top you should see a few different tabs. Right next to the settings wrench is a paper with a paper clip. Underneath that is where you can access and download those different materials. If you're on a browser version, it may be on the right panel to where those would be available within that section instead.
All right, Lori, I'm going to jump in here for you.
All right, I'll take over in the chat.
Cool. So let's keep on getting into these questions here. Next question, I have not received my temporary dealer plates. So if you do have those agent tags printed, those will still be valid till they expire. But you also can still use your standard dealer plates. Again, those are going to coexist here with the blue dealer temporary plates. So if you have those standard dealer plates, you can continue to use those. You can renew them as well when needed. Those will be $90. The new blue dealer temporary plates, those will be $10. That will be ordered through e-licensing. But again, you can utilize those standard dealer plates as well. Okay, let's talk about the assigning of those dealer plates. So if that plate is going to be used for transporting vehicles, so if it's going to be used to transport to a shop, maybe to get serviced, or transporting inventory, or maybe transported for auction, and also if it was a loaner vehicle, you are going to go into e-plates and assign those plates. If it's just going to be for test drives, you don't have to go into e-plate and assign them to each vehicle every time. That sales individual can swap them on those vehicles. So again, if a customer wants to test drive 5 vehicles, that salesperson can attach that plate to each one for those test drives without having to assign them an e-plate. Okay, when to process the vehicle transfer notifications. That is going to be required for when those vehicles are brought into your inventory. Okay, and that is required under House Bill 718, okay? If we are buying from an auction or wholesaler, should the vehicle come with plates? No, so they should not. You are going to use your dealer plates, which can be the standard dealer plate or the blue dealer temporary plate to transport it from auction. Once you go to sell those vehicles, you are going to assign new general issue plates. On the flip side, if you are going to bring vehicles to auction, again, you're going to utilize one of those dealer plates, but they will not have those general issue plates with them. Okay, for out-of-state buyers, are they to discard the out-of-state plates? So that is correct. So those green out-of-state plates, again, you're going to assign those in e-plate so that that car can be driven to their home state. It's good for 60 days. But within that 60 days, that customer will need to get that title and registration done in their home state. Once they do so and get their home state's plate, then those green ones, you can advise them just to destroy them, but they are not required to be returned. Okay, where to locate the internet down receipts. That is going to be located in ePlates. Once you have logged in on the Plates tab, you're going to go towards the bottom of the drop down, then you'll see the internet down receipts option there. Okay, in the event that you issued one of those paper tags, those will be valid until they expire. Anything beyond that, if you still didn't have that um, transaction completed and they hadn't received their plates and sticker, you will need to go to the tax office and get a red temporary registration plate. As far as the internet down receipts, should we print all that we are allowed? That is correct. We recommend doing so. So the amount that you have there, whatever the remaining balance is, we recommend printing all of those so that you have those. Okay, again, when to submit those VTNs. If it's coming from out of state and it doesn't have a Texas record, meaning it hasn't been registered or titled here, then yes, you are not going to submit a VTN for those, much like you're not going to submit a VTN for brand new vehicles that are coming in from the manufacturer. Okay, a good question here. In what situation is an internet down receipt needed? So again, this is going to be utilized maybe if your internet goes down. In those events when you can't go into ePlate and assign them, that is when you're going to utilize that internet down receipt so that that customer can leave your lot with a plate and they be able to legally drive. Again, you're going to provide them with that customer receipt. Once your guys' internet does come back up, you're going back into the system to log that information. Okay, so a general overview of each step the vehicle must go through from the time of purchase so the customer can drive off. So essentially, once you have sold that vehicle, in order for that customer to be able to leave your lot and be able to drive that vehicle, in ePlate, you are going to assign a plate, being the general issue plates or whichever plates pertains to that transaction. Maybe it's a trailer, but you're going to assign that metal plate according to that vehicle. So again, that they can leave your lot. Then you as a dealer, you have 30 days to submit that transaction to the county within Web Dealer. Then once that transaction has been reviewed by the county, they're going to collect the payment for it. Then they will provide that registration sticker that they will provide to you all so that you can get that to the customer. Once that customer does receive that sticker, that plate that you had assigned initially when they left your lot will become permanent. At that point, you're just putting the sticker on the register or the windshield. Okay, you are going to submit the transaction in WebDealer before getting with the tax office to get that sticker. They're only going to provide that registration sticker once you guys have submitted that transaction. That county needs to review it, approve it, collect the payment for it, and at that point, that is when they're going to have that sticker for that vehicle. Okay, and as another reminder, I am seeing some separated messages here. So again, please, if you need to provide any additional context, make sure you keep it in one message because that second message you send is going to get lost in the sea of questions. Thank you. Okay, how do you receive those stickers? Again, the county will let you know what that process looks like. If before you had to go pick up those stickers from the county tax office, more than likely it's going to stay the same. Get with that county and they'll let you know what that process is. Some counties will mail that to the dealerships, some will have you come pick them up, but each county is different and they'll let you know. So the license plates in your system, again, they're going to be automatically received for you. If you're going into ePlate, ensure that you are using the correct location. If you are having issues and you're not seeing that inventory, you can utilize the internet down receipts so that those customers can leave your lot and you can continue operations. Okay, in ePlates, you're seeing the apportion and token trailer option. What is the difference? So again, those apportioned registrations, they're going to be utilized when those are going to be used across state lines, as whereas combination is within Texas only. Okay, as another reminder here, if you do have those agent tags and they are still valid, so the expiration isn't for, you know, sometime in July or whenever it expires, they will still continue to be used. You can still use them until they expire. All right, still waiting for some questions in here. Okay, how do I order more plates in IMS? Again, that's ordering function, so that button is not enabled yet. So you're not going to be able to go in there and order plates quite yet. Okay, for the VTN process, if you are receiving those from auction, again, in ePlates, when you are submitting that, you are going to mark that it is from auction. Then you're going to use that auctions information. We do have instructions on the VTN process in the event that it's purchased from auction in our handouts. In our handouts, you're going to see the web dealer addendum file. In that file, there is going to be a walkthrough on showing you how to submit a VTN when those vehicles are coming in from auction. Okay, how are you going to download documents for each transaction? If you're referring to when you are uploading documents for transactions, when you're going to submit them to the county tax office, you're going to utilize Web Dealer to submit those documents. Again, there's going to be an upload feature or step in there. Again, if you want to clarify what you're referring to. Okay, those VTNs, again, only when you are receiving that inventory. You don't have to submit one when you are selling them. So if a customer has a specialty license plates such as disabled persons plate or a disabled veteran plate, you are going to be able to assign those to their new vehicle. You are going to use that customer supplied option. Yes, you are going to be able to transfer those plates. Okay. So whether that's purchased from a dealer or an auction, you as the receiving dealers would be the ones placing those VTN submissions or submitting those VTNs. Okay, if the client wants an apportioned plate, I issue them the purple provisional plate. That is correct. We do have a example and a walkthrough in the ePlate training. But essentially, once you go in there and fill out the required information, you're going to put that it is for titled and registered here in Texas. Then it'll have the registration class. You'll choose the apportioned option, and that will give you the option to place that purple provisional plate from your inventory. Okay, as far as the plate colors go, okay, we have a purple provisional plate, a green out of state plate, then you're going to have the black and white general issue plates. Alternatively, there is a red temporary registration plate, but again, those are only going to be from a regional service center or a county tax office. And then there's also blue plates. That'll be your temporary dealer plates. Okay, if you have a transaction that the customer is going to be titling and registering here in Texas, you as a dealer are required to submit that transaction to the county. If it's going out of state, then you are providing them with the green out of state plate so that they can do the title and registration in their home state. So again, if it's going to be here in Texas, you do have to do the title work for them. You do have to submit that transaction through WebDealer. Okay, for the export plates, you as a dealer, you can apply for those at a regional service center or a county tax office. It doesn't need to be you as a dealer. The customer can also apply for those plates, but those are going to be from the regional service center or the county tax office. So on WebDealer, and there's also going to be this in ePlate as well, there is an option for title only. That is going to be when there is no registration applied for, but you will have to mark those in ePlate. And if you're having those transactions, you will also fill that out in WebDealer for the title only scenarios.
All right, Frank, I'm going to tag in for you.
All right.
All right, got a question here. Somebody answered for me that current owner for VTN would put us as dealer, but it would not accept it. I put in exactly how our names would be on title. Since we buy vehicles at auctions, how does the system know we would be the current owners? So I think there may have been a little misconfusion there or misinformation. So if you are submitting a VTN, the system does require you to enter the owner's name as it appears on the title. So you're not entering your dealer's name or the dealer that you're purchasing from, or even the auction that you're purchasing from. It does have to be the owner as it appears on the current vehicle record. So that would be whoever's name is on that current title in the system. So that should be on the documentation provided to you whenever you purchase it from an auction, because they are supposed to provide you with paperwork, and you should be getting the title for that vehicle as well. So when you are submitting a VTN, again, make sure that it is the exact name as it appears on the motor vehicle record and the title information. Do we charge a $10 plate fee instead of $5 e-tag fee? Yes, so for any transactions sold prior to 7/1, those would all have the $5 buyer tag fee assessed to them. Anything sold after July 1st or sold on or after July 1st, those will be assessed a new $10 metal plate fee. And that metal plate fee will be assessed even if there is a plate that is being transferred. And those fees will automatically be assessed in WebDealer. And by the system, even if you have to take it into the county tax office, it's going to be based on the date of sale. Do we submit transaction on WebDealer before we go to the tax office to get the registration sticker? Yes, so your process is going to be, so I'll just kind of start at the beginning to kind of cover everything. So for today, you sell a vehicle, you assign a metal plate, you do that plate assignment in ePlate. Your customer leaves the lot, they have their new vehicle, they're happy, they have a metal plate on their vehicle, but they do not have a registration sticker, but they do have your buyer's receipt from that ePlate assignment. Within 30 days is when you will submit that title application transfer, and that will be processed through WebDealer. Once that county tax office reviews and approves that application, that's when these registration sticker will be assigned. And at that point, you would just need to be in communication with the county tax office, whether they let you know that they're ready for pickup or however you typically work that out with your county. And then once you get that sticker, provide that to your customer, and that's when they attach it to their windshield. How do I order more plates in IMS? The product order button is not available. So that is correct. At this time, the product ordering is not enabled as they're still trying to get out the initial shipments and allocations. So you should receive enough inventory because basically your inventory allocation is supposed to equal 6 months of sales, which is a quarterly allocation. If you happen to not have enough inventory and you are needing more inventory before that product order button is available, you can reach out to the dealer_allocations inbox to be able to request additional inventory. But once that product order is available, you do have to use at least 50% of that quarterly allocation before you can order more inventory. Can we sell a car without a title next day after purchase from auction? No, and I cannot emphasize that enough. No, you can never sell a vehicle without a title. So if you have something in your inventory and you do not have a title for it, do not put it for sale. You are legally not supposed to be selling vehicles you do not have titles for. Seeing a few issues with people not able to access their inventory. So just a quick reminder, if you are in IMS, please ensure that you are viewing inventory under the P number and then looking at the dealer ID. The email communications you would have received from our allocations team whenever regarding your plate shipment, that should include a dealer ID next to your P number. That is the dealer ID that inventory has been assigned to and allocated to. So make sure in IMS you have selected that location, and then over to the right, click on search. If you don't click on search, it may not populate that inventory. And then in ePlate, also make sure that you have you set that location to that same dealer ID. If they happen to be different, or if you need that inventory into a different dealer ID, you can transfer that inventory to that other dealer ID. The IMS access for just went blank. IMS access through Web Dealer handout is available in the Downloads tab or the Materials tab, and that will kind of help walk you through that process of how to transfer inventory. If you are new to joining us, just a couple of reminders. We will be on until 4 o'clock answering questions throughout the questions box and the chat feature. The presentation that you see scrolling here is going to just provide some helpful information for you, but that is available in our downloads. At the very top right-hand corner, you can go under Materials, and there will be a paper with a paper clip. We do have the presentation that you can print out as a PDF or download as PDF. That does also have these available links for these on-demand trainings available. So on that PDF version, you can control click, and that will take you to the registration for any of those on-demand trainings. So we do have training available for Web Dealer, for ePlate, IMS, and all those different things. We do also have the IMS access through Web Dealer handout that will provide you guidance on how to view your permissions and set permissions for IMS, how to log in, how to transfer inventory, view inventory, all those things. And then we do have that Web Dealer addendum that's available to download as well. That will walk you through the process for VTNs, plate assignments, and things like that. And if you are posting questions, please make sure you provide as much information as possible. If you're receiving an error, provide us the error code, what screen you're on, what you're trying to do, so that we can provide as best assistance as we possibly can, but we do need all that information to be able to do so. Because if we have to respond and ask a follow-up question, it does not thread that information, so it puts it as a brand new question that we're not able to connect that to. Now, if a customer is traveling to Mexico but not registering it, can they still go about so with the black and white plates? Or I'm guessing they will have to wait until it's completely registered with sticker. So if they are just traveling to Mexico, if they're titling or registering it here in Texas, and they're just like traveling to Mexico for fun or for business or whatever, they may be just traveling to, more than likely they will need to have that permanent registration, but that's definitely going to be up to border security, border control, of what's required for that plate to cross the border. So if they are titling and registering in Texas, they will still need to do that. If they're exporting that vehicle and it will never be titled or registered in the state or the country, then you would need to apply for a temporary registration plate through the county or regional service center. Who does the VTN when we have inventory coming from the auction? So you as the receiving dealer will be the one responsible for filing that VTN. So anytime you are the purchasing dealer, you're the buying dealer, you're the one taking in inventory, you will need to do a VTN, whether that comes from a trade-in from a customer, from an auction, from another dealer. Anytime you are the buying dealer, you will submit the VTN. The only exception to that is if it's a out-of-state vehicle or a brand new vehicle that does not have a Texas record. So essentially anything that does not have a Texas record cannot submit a VTN for because there's not a record to locate for that VTN. What if customer does not have email? So it looks like we asked to possibly elaborate. So if you can let us know which screen you may be on or which system, if you're referring to either the ePlate assignment or to WebDealer, email is not typically required. That's never a required field, but it is good to include so that way that customer provides either a confirmation of whatever you may be trying to process, or if it's for the WebDealer side or registration, they may get notifications that their registration may be expiring, and things like that. So it's not necessarily required. It just kind of depends, again, on what system and which screen you're referring to. In case we continue to get an error message, are we able to walk in to have them complete at the county tax office? So this is going probably to depend on what kind of error you are receiving. If you are trying to process a transaction that was sold prior to 7/1, there are known issues in the system of not allowing those buyer's tags information to be imported into WebDealer for processing. If you do come across that, please try to start the application manually and not importing that buyer's tag information. It will still charge the appropriate fees and it will still charge that buyer's tag fee based on the date of sale. So please attempt that. If you do still have errors in the system, you may want to kind of either print out your screen or capture what error you are receiving, and you may need to take that into the county for processing. I sell older classic muscle builder cars and usually do them title only. Since there is no longer inspection requirement, can I issue plates if the customer requests them? In a prior webinar, we were told there was a problem with the shorter VINs these cars have, but it was being addressed. Has that been done? So I'm not sure about the VIN issue. I know that has been an issue in the past. I can definitely try to find out and get you that information, David. But you may still need to submit those over the counter for processing. But to answer the question about the title only, if you are submitting it as title only for any scenario, even if it's not a muscle car or anything like that, if you're selecting title only, there will be no plate assignment because you are selecting title only, which indicates no registration. So at that time, there would not be a plate assignment that can be done in the system. And it looks like those shorter VINs, we are still having issues with those in the system. For those shorter VINs, please continue processing those at the county. We just sold a vehicle that is going out of state, but they are not driving it here nor driving it out yet until he registers out of state first. Then he's bringing the plates back to drive it out, but we did not assign any plates here. What should we do in this case? I mean, you can issue a out-of-state buyer's plate so that they can legally drive that vehicle to their state. So I'm not sure if that was what they were requesting to do or if that was the only option at the time. But for out-of-state vehicles, you can assign an out-of-state plate for them to operate that vehicle and take it back to their state. Because in some cases, the other state may not even let them title or register that vehicle without some kind of inspection for that state. So that just may vary by state, but you do have the option to assign that out-of-state buyer plate. Do we keep old plates that we've had from previous repos before July 1st, or do we discard those? You can definitely discard those plates. Take them to the county tax office, regional service center if they will take them. You can take them to the metal recycler, cut them in half, whatever you need to do, but you will not be able to reuse those plates from inventory from before July 1st. Is it necessary to do the buyer acknowledgement if you submit the 130U? So that it's either one. So you can either do the electronic buyer acknowledgement, and that takes place of the 130U application. That doesn't mean you can't still include it with your documentation and your paperwork, but it's not necessarily required since that electronic buyer acknowledgement is in place of the 130U signature required. So it's optional. You can do either one. Just keep in mind, if you opt for the electronic buyer acknowledgement, they do have to have a valid Texas driver's license and a social security number, because they will have to log into WebDealer system with a special link that an email they will receive. They will also have to have an email address to do so. And they basically verify the information electronically, and that takes place of that 130U. On WebDealer, there's an option for where it says title only, no registration. What does that mean? So that's going to be for those customers that are not wanting registration at that time. It's for title only. So that may be for vehicles that are not operational, if they're not running, anything like that, that would not get any kind of registration. So for those, they would not have a plate assignment for those transactions. But yeah, just maybe if they want any kind of proof of ownership, just to get it in their name. Maybe they're going to do some work on that vehicle, not necessarily driving it at this time, but they want to get the title in their name. So that would be a couple different scenarios for that. How do we generate plates for vehicles sold before July 1st? So you will not issue any kind of metal plate for vehicles sold before July 1. So for those vehicles sold before July 1st, you would have already issued a buyer's tag, and those buyer's tags are valid for the duration of that tag. So if you issued a buyer's tag on June 30th, that remains valid for that 60 days. They do not need to come back and get a metal plate from you after July 1st. Can all the vehicles already in my inventory be sold at any time by assigning the new license plates they sent me? Do I just have to wait for the sticker when I apply for the transfer? Yeah, so that's exactly it. So whenever you sell a vehicle, you will assign them a metal plate. You will assign or affix that metal plate to the vehicle, do the e-plate assignment in e-plate. They will leave with the vehicle. And then after that, you will have 30 days as normally to transfer that title application through WebDealer. And once that application is processed and reviewed by the county, they will assign that registration sticker, and you will just work with the county tax office to get those stickers from the county, and then be able to provide that over to your customer for them to stick it onto their windshield. But during the time where they have the metal plate and before that sticker is issued, they are still legal, they're still valid, as long as they have their buyer's receipt indicating that that vehicle was purchased. That will remain in the temporary status until that is permanent, when that plate when that registration sticker is issued and assigned. Do I need the title with me to fill out the application or transfer it? How does it work if I don't have the title because finance company pays for the cars for me? So essentially you have to have a title before you can sell a vehicle. So even if you're waiting for it from a finance company, I know that's can sometimes be a lengthy process, but you are legally required to have that title in hand before you can turn around and sell that vehicle. So if you do not have the title in hand, you can therefore not transfer that title to another customer. If customer requests replacement plates, can we issue them and can we charge? No, so you will not be able to issue replacement plates. So you can only do the plate assignment, not replace them for any reason, because you don't have that inventory to do so. So if a customer is needing a replacement plate, like say if they lost or damaged their plate once you assigned it to them, at that point they would need to go to the county tax office to get a replacement plate for their vehicle. If you have not received your plates, again, there may be various reasons for that. It was a requirement for you to complete web dealer training. If you have not completed web dealer training, there are links provided on the screen here that you can download as well, and they're also available on our website, the Web Dealer 101 or the Web Dealer 102. Any variations of those trainings can be completed to satisfy that training requirement. If you have completed that training requirement and you still have not received plates, please reach out to our dealer_allocations inbox for further assistance and inquire about the status of your plates. If you have reached out to them about your plates and you have not heard back yet, at this time to do business, you would need to go to your local county tax office and purchase and apply for a registration temporary plate from the County or Regional Service Center. And then once within that 30 days, still apply for that title through the county tax office. Do we need to do a VTN for all trade-ins so we are not disposing of surrendered plates anymore? So yes and no. So to answer the first part of that question, do we need to do VTN for all trade-ins? Yes, a VTN is going to be required for anything that you take into your inventory. As you are submitting that VTN, there will be options to select whether that was taken in from a trade-in from a customer, from an auction, or from another dealer. And you will also indicate if the plates remained with that vehicle or not. So if the plates did remain with that vehicle, you will indicate so, and those plates will automatically be transferred to your inventory in IMS. So with those being transferred to your inventory, you will have 10 days to reassign those plates to another vehicle of the same class. After that 10 days, those inventory will automatically fall out of your system and you will need to destroy those plates because they will no longer be in your system to assign to a vehicle. So after getting a 30-day permit for customers since they leave to Mexico, when do we reassign black and white plates? So I'm not sure I completely followed this scenario, but if you are obtaining a temporary registration plate for a customer that is taking their vehicle to be exported, which indicates that that is not ever going to be titled or registered in the state of Texas or this country, then you would need to apply for that temporary registration plate. So at that point, they would never need to get the black and white plates or any general issue plates from Texas. However, if you're referring to this vehicle as a trade-in and the plates that came with that vehicle initially may be in your inventory, so I'm not sure if maybe that's what you're referring to. But if that's the case, then you could reassign those plates that came with that vehicle initially within 10 days to another vehicle of the same class as they would show up in your inventory. If you have your inventory is not showing up in IMS, please check for a couple different things. Verify the email communications that you would have received from our allocations team. The second email that you would have received would have provided a P number and a dealer ID, which would be the number next to your P number. That is going to be the information that would be attached to that inventory in IMS. So if you're logging into IMS, please ensure that that is the same dealer location that you were logged into. Also make sure you go over and click on search. So if you're in IMS and you enter that P number, you see different options. If you click on one, make sure you go over and hit search so that will populate the inventory for that specific location. If the inventory is in the incorrect location and you need to transfer it, we do have the IMS handout available with instructions and guidance on how to transfer the inventory to a different dealer ID, but it must be under the same GDN. For out-of-state titles, how does it allow us to issue a plate to the customer since we won't be doing a VTN on it? Is there something on the back end we need to select to show we have a title? But no, so I think you may be mixing up a couple different scenarios and processes. So you wouldn't need to do a VTN because there's not going to be a Texas record in our system. We're also not going to carry forward any out-of-state plates to your inventory. This will not be able to be put into your inventory. But as far as the title itself, that's going to be assigned whenever you resell that vehicle. So whenever you resell that same vehicle to a new buyer, that's when you just issue a new set of general issue plates from your inventory. And then you would just assign that title over to them and transfer that in WebDealer. So if that does not answer your question, please let us know.
Hey, Lori, I can jump in here for the last 30 minutes.
All right, sounds good. I'll keep answering in the chat.
Cool, thank you. So let's get into it here. Again, we are hitting that 30-minute mark. So this is definitely the time to get those handouts downloaded. There's 3 of them in there. Tons of beneficial information in there. Just from the presentation that has been cycling through alone, there's going to be a lot of good contact emails. There's some phone numbers in there. And there's also going to be some training links in there. Definitely watch those training videos. I do see a lot of people asking about plate assignments. So it does walk you through plate assignments, whether that's customer supplied. If you need to issue a purple provisional plate, all of those instructions are on those videos. So on the slide that is shown right now, again, you're going to click that link for the e-plate training. If that is what you're looking for, it's going to have, again, a lot of good information on there. So, question, what is the red plate for? So the red temporary registration plate, that is going to be used for export or for other purposes, right? It's going to act the same as that one trip and a 30-day permit that we previously had. But again, these are the plates that you can use for export. Again, you have the two different options, the one trip and the 30-day. These are going to be applied for at the county tax office or at a regional service center. As far as who needs to apply for those plates, it can be the dealer and it can also be the customer. You as a dealership will determine those business practices. But again, those are at a regional service center or a county tax office. So, what if the customer is needing farm plates and you have issued a purple provisional plate and they get lost? How does a customer get those plates? At that point, it would be the replacement plates. So they would need to get with the county tax office and get those replacement plates. Okay, when you are submitting the VTNs, when you have purchased that from a trade-in, you got that in from a customer, you're just going to fill out the information. Okay, you're not going to select that it was purchased from a dealer or an auction. Again, when you are submitting those from customers, you do need to input their information as it reads on the title. It needs to be exactly how it reads. If it's not going to locate that record. So you want to ensure that you're entering in the correct information. So going over the spelling, making sure that's correct. It could be as little as using initials. Maybe if it's spelled out all the way, you want to ensure that you're doing that. But again, you want to make sure it matches exactly how it matches on the title to locate that record. Okay, where do we get the blue dealer temporary plates? That is going to be through e-licensing. Okay, and there you're going to see that plates and sticker option. That is going to be where you order those plates. It's also going to be where you order the standard dealer plates, or if you have those and need to renew them, you're going to also use that same plates and sticker option. Okay, if you received a vehicle from out of state and it has an out of state title, yes, you are not going to submit a VTN for those vehicles. Okay, in the event that customer needs that sticker, maybe that sticker got lost in the mail. Again, you want to contact that county tax office on determining how that replacement sticker will be processed. Okay, how many dealer temporary plates can we have? That is going to be determined by your business size. Again, that's going to be based on sales volume. You can increase for an increase in your allocation. You just have to request it. And those plates again are going to be used for test drives. Maybe you are providing loaner vehicles, transporting inventory. And when it comes to those plates, if it's going to be for test drives, you don't have to go into ePlate and assign them to each vehicle. That sales individual can switch them out on the vehicles as they are doing the test drives. Okay, if you have a sale that is going to be used for exports on the weekend, again, you're going to only be able to get those red plates from a regional service center or a county tax office. So at that point, it wouldn't be able to be driven on public roads. That vehicle can be trailered or towed, but if it's going to be driven, you are going to need those red plates that again are obtained from a regional service center or a county tax office. Okay, where would we upload the new vehicle inventory? So again, as far as vehicle inventory, you are not uploading anything. If you're referring to when you are receiving vehicles from trade-in, purchase from auction, or a dealer, you are submitting a VTN for those vehicles. Okay, so if you had issued those paper buyer tags prior to July 1, they will still be valid until it expires. Okay, which plate is used for test drives and taken to body shops? You can utilize your standard dealer plates, or you can use your blue dealer temporary plates. Okay, and are VTNs mandatory? They are. So under House Bill 718, they are required starting July 1. Again, anything entering your guys' inventory, you will need to submit a VTN for. Okay, for the purple buyer provisional plates, what do we use them for and how good are they long or how long are they good for? So again, those purple provisional plates, in the event that you don't have that available plate type in your inventory, that is when you're utilizing those purple provisional plates. Also, if that customer is going to need apportioned or forestry plates, you could also utilize the plates for them as well. But let's say you ran out of farm plates, you can utilize the purple provisional plate in those instances. You will assign that plate, get the transaction submitted to the tax office. Once that tax office provides that plate and assigns it, then that's when the purple provisional plate's 7-day expiration begins. Okay, are we supposed to have our vehicle inventory on the website in order to issue a new title application? Okay, you're not entering in vehicle inventory. So if you're referring to the vehicles that you may have had on your lots, you didn't submit a VTN for, when you go to sell those vehicles, you are just going to issue new general issue plates. Okay, are we supposed to add a plate we remove from a traded vehicle into our IMS? So no, you're not going to have to enter anything into IMS. As those traded in vehicles are entering your inventory, you are submitting those VTNs for them so that that plate can be reused. And if you are going to reuse them, again, it doesn't have to be to the same vehicle, doesn't need to be the same customer. It's just going to be on your next sale for a vehicle with the same classification and within 10 days. Past those 10 days, you are going to destroy those plates with some metal shears, taking them to a metal recycler or to a regional service center. Okay, those purple provisional plates, again, those are going to be one-time use. They are not reusable. Once they are used, we advise that those plates get destroyed. Again, metal shears, metal recycler, or a regional service center. Okay, I see some information on here. Um, so if you don't have a title for a vehicle, you are not going to be able to sell it. So you need to have that title before you sell a vehicle. Okay, the ordering option in IMS has not been enabled. So if you don't see it in there, again, it's not enabled. Okay, do you report cars purchased at auction online, even without the plates? That is correct. So again, if you have time, we have about 15 more minutes here. In the materials tab, going to be looking for the web dealer addendum file. In that file, there is going to be a walkthrough on how to submit those vehicles that you are receiving from auction. Okay, we still have some folks going through the pending questions here. Okay, has a reference document been created yet for error codes? So there isn't a document, but that is a great suggestion. Okay, I see a question in here on e-plates. What is the difference between a license plate assignment and a plate assignment? So if you're in here, I don't know if you're referring to the dealer plate assignments or the license plate assignments. But essentially the license plate assignment, that is when you're issuing the general issue plates. Continuing down, you are going to have the option under the dealer plates assignments. That is when you are assigning the blue dealer temporary plates. Okay. In the event that you are experiencing issues seeing or issuing inventory in the IMS, you can utilize those internet down receipts to continue operations. To get to those internet down receipts, that is going to be through ePlate. Once you have logged in, you're going to go into the Plates tab. Towards the bottom of the drop down, you're going to have the option for the internet down receipts. Once you select that, it's going to give you the amounts that you have available, which we recommend printing all of those out. In the event that you need to issue a plate so that your customer can leave your lot. All right, we have about 9 more minutes here. We're going to utilize this time to close out some of these questions here. Definitely within these last 9 minutes, go into that handouts tab, get those downloaded. And if you haven't already, sign up for the Gov delivery notifications. Within those communications, you'll be made aware of any other trainings that we offer. Once those become available, you will be notified through there, as well as any updates regarding House Bill 718 and any of these questions that you might have. Again, those Gov delivery communications will provide a lot of good information. So be sure to sign up for those as well. So next question here, what plate does a customer get when purchasing out of state and exporting a vehicle? So for those vehicles that are going to be titled and registered in another state, those are going to be the green out-of-state plates. And if it's going to be for export use, it's going to be the red temporary registration plate that comes from a regional service center or a county tax office. Okay, again, as another reminder here, we're coming up on 7 minutes. So definitely get your questions in. Okay, so after getting a 30-day permit for a customer since they're going to leave to Mexico, do we reassign a black and white plate? So no. At that point, again, if it's going to be for export, that customer would have taken that vehicle to Mexico so that they can do the title and registration in that country or whichever country is going to be exported to. But after you have that vehicle with that plate and it leaves, at that point, you don't have to assign anything else to it because, again, it's no longer going to be in our country. Okay, for vehicles that are being exported, you are still going to go into e-plates and mark that that vehicle is going to be for export use. Much like the title only scenarios, if you have transactions, they're going to be title only and no plate is going to be assigned. You still need to go into e-plates and mark that so that the record reflects that. Okay, for cars sold prior to July 1st, we have to void out the tags being those buyer's tags and assignmental plates. No, so again, those paper plates will still be valid until they expire. So you don't have to assign those plates because yeah, those buyer's tags that you issued will still be valid until they expire. Okay, as another reminder here, again, for those vehicles that were sold before July 1, you are not assigning those black and white plates. If you had issued those buyer's tags, again, those will still be valid until they expire. In the event that those temporary tags do expire and that's registration wasn't completed, then at that point you're going to need to go to the tax office and get one of those red temporary registration plates. Okay, last question here. In order to void an assigned plate, do we just need to void the transaction on E-plate and remove the metal plates from the vehicle? That is correct. We do have a guide, again, in our handouts. So we'll keep the webinar open here for a little bit so that you can get those materials downloaded. But in the web dealer addendum, there is going to be some useful information. But yes, in E-plate, you are going to void out that assignment and then remove that metal plate. But that does conclude our training for today. We are thankful that you guys joined us, gave us those questions, and provided us with some good feedback. Um, Again, thank you so much. That concludes the training. We hope you guys have a good weekend and a good 4th. But that's it for now. Thank you, everybody. Bye.